All right, guys, let's start off Barbenheimer weekend with a bang. So Oppenheimer is the new film directed by Christopher Nolan, written by Christopher Nolan, based on the book American Prometheus, about the life of J. Robert Oppenheimer, the man, the father of the atomic bomb. And boy, having literally just gone out of seeing it and sitting down to do this review, I might be processing some stuff because this gets heavy. So we got the story of the man who created the atomic bomb, and it's told in only a way that Christopher Nolan can, in a very non-linear, jumping all around the life of J. Robert Oppenheimer as only Christopher Nolan can tell it. And it works. I think it 100% works. Now, the runtime is long. I know a lot of people are going to see that and be like, ooh, do I really want to sit through a 3-hour movie? And I would say you should and would if you like more political / character-driven stories, because J. Robert Oppenheimer, as portrayed by the great Cillian Murphy, or Cillian Murphy, however you want to pronounce it, I believe it's Cillian Murphy, he kills it. He absolutely kills it as Oppenheimer. I loved his performance quite a bit in this. He's just riveting, and there wasn't a moment where he was on screen that I was bored with. I enjoyed every minute he was on the screen. You'd think for a movie about the atomic bomb that it would spend a lot of time on that, but it's essentially like this. The middle act of the movie, the center act of the movie, is essentially all about the bomb. You have the kind of opening act, which is more about Oppenheimer and the journey to get to that point, and then everything after the bomb is this interesting political drama that happens because of it. Kind of like where it's a nuclear explosion. You got the blast radius right there in the middle with the actual bomb, and then kind of the before and after effects, like the ripple effects around it, because the way Nolan's storytelling works, there's a lot of reverberations at the beginning of the film as there are at the end of the film. So I thought that was very interesting, the way he kind of did things, and without giving away too much, because I think people should see this. They talk about like paradoxes and how certain mathematical equations will give you an answer that says there is no way that this can happen, but then it actually happens. They prove that it happens. And so there's something that kind of happens towards the end of the movie, and the way the film's kind of structured that leans in on this premise, this idea of, just because the math or whatever should prove that something is like this, doesn't actually mean that it can do it. So it was this very interesting idea, at least something that I thought of after the movie. I don't know if everybody would agree with me, but that's just something I took from it. And yeah, Christopher Nolan, I think, this is one of his better movies in the last couple. I'll just say that much. Not that I hate any of his movies. He's my favorite director, but I just feel like, since Tenet, I liked quite a bit, but then before that was Dunkirk. And I definitely think Oppenheimer is stronger than those two. Where its place is amongst the rest of Nolan's films, it's towards the top. I probably would put a few more above it still, but it was a very good, solid, enjoyable experience for me. Well, enjoyable in terms of this was movie making and cinema near its peak, and that makes it good. The subject matter, though, gets a little dark, and the end is kind of depressing, but hey, what'd you expect from a nuclear bomb movie? But I do also want to say there's so many actors in this film. So many people you're going to be like, I know that face. Like, even after I took my dad to see this, after the film, he's like, I couldn't place my finger on it, but I could recognize some faces. I just didn't know who they were. Like, I'll just say Gary Oldman makes a cool appearance in this. My dad didn't recognize him. It took him a while to realize Florence Pugh was in this, who was great, by the way. I think, but she's not in the movie enough to really go in too much about her character. I'll just say, like, Florence Pugh kills it. I love seeing Florence Pugh in anything. She's one of my favorite actresses, so it was cool seeing her. But this film really, as much as there's a lot of faces you're going to see in this, I think it really hinges on 4 performances, and that's obviously Cillian Murphy as Oppenheimer. You got Emily Blunt, who plays his wife, Kitty. You got Matt Damon, who comes in as the general who's kind of wrangling up the Manhattan Project. And then you have Robert Downey Jr., who kind of plays this oversight committee, Washington-type guy who is weaving in and out of the story. So I think those are the 4 main players here. Not that anybody else in the movie plays less of a role, but I just think when you sit down, those are the 4 big actors that get the most screen time, and they all kill it for in different ways. Cillian obviously carries the movie. He's the centerpiece. He is the focal point of the film. But Emily Blunt, at first, she doesn't seem like she gets a whole lot to do, but she acts her butt off in this. And Emily Blunt gets to flex those acting chops at the end of the film in some really great stuff, some really great material for her to really just own a couple of scenes, and I was just like, this girl is incredible. She was great at it. You know, Matt Damon, he, for lack of a better word, I think he gives the film some levity, which I thought I wouldn't like, because like every time I saw Matt Damon, I was like, oh, it's just Matt Damon playing a general. But he really works in this. He does bring a little bit of, you know, the humor in this, but he also gets very dark and serious at a couple points, and I think Matt Damon does really, really good in this. But, you know, nothing compared to the previous two I just mentioned, and definitely not compared to Robert Downey Jr., who, in my opinion, might be the best performance I've seen this year so far. Every time Robert Downey Jr. was on the screen, I was just absolutely riveted. I was slack-jawed just watching him just act his butt off. I love Robert Downey Jr.'s acting. I think he's a great actor. You know, a lot of people just think of him as Iron Man now, but the dude can flat out act, and he crushes it. I would be shocked if he didn't maybe get like a Best Supporting Actor nomination at the Oscars next year. We'll have to wait and see. There's a lot of performances to still come out, but he might be my favorite performance I've seen so far this year. But we'll see. We're just a little over halfway through the year, so we'll see. That could change. The music is absolutely intense in this. There's scenes that just shouldn't feel like, you know, you should be on the edge of your seat sweating, but the music kind of helps push you to the edge of your seat and, you know, get you that place, and it does its job. And I loved a lot of it. I was a little shocked that it wasn't Hans Zimmer who did the score, but still absolutely great. The cinematography by Hoyt van Hoytema is great. You know, I've liked his collaboration with Nolan, you know, visually the last few movies, and it's just Christopher Nolan directs the crap out of this. I'm not going to say it's his best film, not by a long shot. That still belongs to a certain film that's near and dear to my heart, but it's really good. I think this is a great film. I do think, though, that Nolan could have reined it in a little bit. There was some stuff that I feel like could have been trimmed down or cut out. That's just my opinion, to make this a little more of a sleeker runtime. But even with that, knowing like it felt like a long movie, I never was once bored. I was never sitting there checking my watch. I was sitting there just engrossed in this whole story, knowing, you know, this is long, but we've gone a long way, and we feel like we got a long way to go, but I'm still into this. I'm invested in, I was all about it. And then I try not to drink a soda going into the theater now till the movie starts. But with these longer movies, I've had to like try to figure out a moment to start drinking my soda during the film. And with this one, I said, I'll wait until Matt Damon shows up, because this is a long movie, and I feel like he's not going to be right at the beginning of this story, which I was right about. So if you're kind of the same way as me, or as a lot of people who have trouble going pee during long movies, if you have a soda, don't drink it before the movie. Don't drink it when the movie starts. Wait till Matt Damon shows up. I think that'll be the perfect time for you to start drinking that soda. Just a little tip right there. But yeah, at the end of the day, guys, I'm giving this film a solid A. This is one of the best films of the year. Whether or not it wins all the awards, hard to say. It's definitely at the top of my list this year in terms of, you know, ranking films. It is up there towards the top. Does it take number one? We'll have to wait and see. As of right now, hard to say, but all I know is it's towards the top of this year's films, and it is definitely worth checking out. It is a great cinematic experience that's going to definitely stick with you for a while. I know I'm going to be going to bed tonight thinking a lot about this movie and a lot of the moral quandaries that come with it, but hey, that's what Christopher Nolan does sometimes. So what do you guys think? Are you going to go see Oppenheimer, or did you go see Barbie first? I know I have to, at some point this weekend, I'm going to see Barbie. I just don't know when yet. Life happens, and there's a lot of stuff going on, but I'm going to try to get to that this weekend. So yeah, are you guys doing a double header? My friends actually, I had a friend who I met at the theater. Her and her fiance are going to go check out Barbie later after this Oppenheimer. So people are doing the full barbenheimer experience. What are you going to do this weekend? And if you guys could please also leave the like, hit that little bell notification, subscribe, all that junk, you know, to be notified whenever I drop new videos. I know I said that in a weird order, but hey, it's getting late. And with that, guys, until the next review, I'll be seeing you.